Now this is the iScooter DX5, and straight off the bat, it looks kind of strange. Is it a mini motorcycle, a scooter, an electric e-bike? Well, iScooter specifically calls it a cargo scooter, which is a sit-down style scooter built around a heavy-duty frame construction that houses a 1500-watt rear hub motor that can propel this thing up to 55 kilometers an hour with a claimed range of 70 kilometers. You also get suspension front to back and very powerful hydraulically actuated disc brakes. We've been testing this unique e-mobility solution out for the past couple of weeks and want to share our experience with you guys. We did get this review unit to test out, but this video is not officially sponsored, so we want to keep things as transparent as possible and determine if this thing is right for you. Now, first and foremost, let's talk about the unbox process and assembly, which is actually quite involved. This is quite a heavy-duty item. The scooter itself weighs over 100 pounds, and the package itself is around 120 to 115 pounds. So I feel very sorry for the delivery drivers that have to deal with these large items. Luckily, it wasn't too bad to actually unbox it, since I've had some experience in dealing with these heavy-duty construction scooters before. But this is obviously a very unique design. The actual process of assembling everything is a little bit of an involved process. It is fairly intuitive, and the manual is very straightforward and gives you a good direction in terms of what to do step by step. It took me specifically about 43 minutes from the unboxing to the actual final assembly, which wasn't too bad for me personally since I enjoy building things, but can be a nuisance for some people that just want to get going straight off the bat. Now, once you've assembled everything, you do want to charge the battery since it does come a little bit drained for shipping purposes. And once you have fully charged the battery, there is a breaker switch located on the left-hand side underneath the seat, which you do want to turn on to activate the battery. And with the bike, you actually get two NFC keys, and you simply place one of the keys on the main display that will turn on the actual scooter itself. Now, the scooter does have a built-in alarm system, so when you lock the bike just using the NFC key, it'll be active. And if someone comes over and tries to move the scooter, it will initiate a mild alarm, which isn't too loud, and it goes away after 30 seconds. It will also lock the rear motor at the back so you can't roll it freely, which is a nice safety feature. Of course, if a thief is aware of this specific product, they could turn off the main battery switch and bypass the alarm altogether, but it is still a cumbersome thing to steal since it weighs over 100 pounds. Now, as far as the control goes on the cockpit, you can see that on the right-hand side, we have a main mode dial, which is labeled S. This is going to initiate from park mode to drive mode, as well as the 4 different drive modes specifically. The top level 4 will give you the full 35 miles an hour or 55 kilometers claimed by iScooter. And obviously, the other modes will be variants of slower speeds. To get the actually most amount of range, you actually want to be in the low speed 1 or mode 1, which is essentially eco mode. And obviously, if you travel around in full power mode 4 with the full speed, you're obviously going to get maybe a quarter of the claimed battery life, which is important to note. Obviously, battery life we'll talk about later on. And in terms of the actual throttle mechanism, it's basically a standard twist throttle that's tightly integrated with that main mode dial. Now, on the left-hand side of the handlebars, you're going to notice that we have a main switch for the lights, which will turn on the high-powered front LED light, as well as the rear tail light. The rear tail light is comprised of a dedicated brake light, as well as dedicated turn signals integrated tightly into that rear unit. And you'll also have buttons for left and right turn signals at the front on the left-hand side as well as a dedicated horn button as well. Now, the center display is very large and spacious. You get plenty of readout capabilities for your speed, your trip, as well as what mode settings you're in, if you have the brake active or on and off. It does flicker in the video, but in real life it doesn't flicker, and it's bright enough for most circumstances out there. Although if you have very powerful sun reflection on top of it, it does have a glossy finish, which can get a little bit annoying, but it's more than adequate enough to read in most circumstances. Now on the top portion of the frame, you're going to find an area to mount an extra carrying case, which is a bonus option that we got with this iScooter. And this is basically a great bag to house your smartphone. You can also operate your smartphone through this transparent bag. And this is great for GPS navigation. It's a nice, tightly safe solution to house your smartphone compared to just mounting it on the handlebars. And underneath that bag, there's plenty of room for miscellaneous items. We were able to actually fit our entire camera rig in there, as well as even the Neo 2 with room to spare. Now, as far as the aesthetics go, I think the DX5 looks pretty sleek. It's very rugged looking and it has a cute factor, obviously being kind of tiny and short, but once you're actually sitting on the seat, if you're under 6 foot, I think you'll find it more than adequate and pretty comfortable. The distance between the top of the seat and the actual foot pegs is around 69 centimeters, and I think for people around 6 foot or 6'2" and under should be fairly comfortable. I'm about 5'9" specifically, and I found the riding position to be very comfortable and very sustainable for long periods of time. Great for long commutes or long rides. The seat cushion itself is very cushy, very comfortable, and alongside the dual suspension system, which you have hydraulic forks at the front as well as 2 dual air shocks at the back, it can soak up all the bumps. It feels like a really nice plush Cadillac in terms of its ride quality, and it's still dynamic enough to move around and have great road presence because the battery is mounted lower, and it just feels super comfortable and very easy to ride. The foot pegs are retractable, and they feel sturdy enough for most riders out there, at least riders that are under 100 kilos, and you can obviously stand on the foot pegs if you get tired of sitting. Now, as far as the center basket, it's about 11 liters in terms of a volume storage space. The actual dimensions of the basket is about 43 by 19 by 17 centimeters, and it's spacious enough to fit like most smaller grocery bags. Some people even fit smaller dogs out there. I've seen photos in China, and it is definitely a very convenient design. It's located directly at a very convenient spot where you can load and access very easily, and it's secured both on the left and right side by these cages that are built into the scooter frame. Since the frame is so heavy duty, the load capacity is actually pretty high at 150 kilos, including the rider, mind you, so you can certainly load this thing up quite a bit depending upon how much you weigh personally. And the suspension is compliant enough for you to stand on it, sit on it, jump on it, and load it quite adequately as well. Now, there's also a possibility of installing a front basket. Obviously, there's no direct mounting holes specifically, but you can certainly buy universal kits that will mount onto the front stem or forks at the front of this thing. Now, after riding the scooter for a while now, I think the 2 big standout features specifically have to be the overall comfort level that you get from the seat and the dual suspension system, and the brakes are amazing. They're pretty much mini motorcycle brakes. They have a large hydraulic reservoir that's great for ballooning out the brakes so you have no air bubbles, and it's really easy to actually take out air bubbles because of that large master cylinder reservoir located at the top of the handlebars. The brake rotors themselves are about 180 millimeters in terms of diameters, 3 millimeters in terms of thickness, and provide a great bite and can pretty much stop this scooter within just a few meters, even at top speed. Now, that's enough talk. Let's actually get into some riding impressions and see what this thing can do in terms of riding dynamics, top speed, and hill climbs. So as far as the riding dynamics, the bike feels really great. It feels very planted since you got low center of gravity with the battery being mounted real low. You can maneuver it pretty tightly. Let's see how I do in this area. Not bad at all. And once you get used to the dynamics, it is pretty fun to toss around. Feels really great. You do counter steering movements just like any other road bike, and very quiet in terms of its operation. As you can hear, it's pretty much nothing but wind noise. Very smooth delivery in terms of power. We're in mode 4, and right now we're on a little bit of an incline. That's 30 miles an hour right there. So as far as the dynamics goes, the bike moves great. So you got a low center of gravity, so you can really toss it around, do counter steer movements. It feels like a mini pit bike or a Grom if you've ever rode one of those. You can also stand up with the bike if you want to make it like a regular e-scooter style. And The motor delivery is very responsive, super linear. As far as U-turns go, you could kind of shoot one leg out there, power right through. Turning circles, okay. I mean, I'm not the greatest rider over here. And we can certainly do a little off-roading if we needed to. Got the drone going everywhere, but let's go ahead and do a little top speed run and see what we can do in mode 4. So right now we're indicated at about 30 miles an hour. We're almost outrunning the Neo 2 right there. We'll slow down a little bit. Okay, now we got the people out of the way. We can now push it a little forward. I'm just going to see if I can outrun the Neo 2. And we can. We're at 32 indicated, 35 right there. And I did a little GPS run, and technically 35 miles an hour is realistically 47.9 or 48 kilometers an hour, which is definitely not bad for, you know, a basic e-scooter. Okay, so now we're going to do a little hill test. We're just about 10% incline coming up on this hill. We're in level 2. Plenty of power straight off the beginning of the hill. And we're right now max pin throttled. Okay, so now we're going to go into mode 4. And we're still kind of pinned. We're going 15 miles an hour. And we're coming to the end of the hill over here. So that wasn't too bad. The motor runs very quietly even when it's at full load. And definitely not too bad for a little 10% grade. Now, as far as the battery and range, the battery specifically is a 48 volt, 15.6 amp hour battery with a capacity of 750 watt hours. With our real world test, I'm about 180 pounds in mixed real world usage. We got around 30 to 40 kilometers out of a single charge. That's with all the different modes, uphill, downhill. And obviously, if you're going to be riding in mode 1 and are very light, you may get that 70 kilometer claimed range, but most likely it's going to be half of that estimated range. And if you're going to be running around in full power mode 4 all the time, you could expect anywhere between 20 to 15 kilometers at best. Now, to sum up everything, let's go over the pros and cons of the DX5 and also talk about the benefits of its design over a standard stand-up scooter. Now, I really do like the 1500 watt rear hub motor. It's very smooth, quiet, and refined. It provides a decent enough power to go up any inclines, whether you're heavier, lighter, it's more than capable enough for most riders, and a decent amount of realistic top speed. You can certainly go close to 50 kilometers an hour based on our GPS test. Another big plus is the fact that we have awesome storage options, making it a lot more convenient than your stand-up scooter, which doesn't have the same cargo capabilities with the center-mounted basket, as well as that extra bag, which is a great place to house your smartphone, as well as for extra storage. The other big thing is that we have awesome hydraulically actuated brakes, much better than most of the e-scooters out there that you'll find, especially on the budget market, and even some e-bikes should really utilize some of these powerful disc brakes we have on the DX5. I also like the fact that we do get NFC unlock, and we have that built-in alarm, and it definitely feels a more premium, next-level technology with that keyless system. Lastly, I think the pricing is very competitive. At under $900, this is certainly a very capable, convenient e-transportation solution that offers power levels as well as range that is actually cheaper than most stand-up scooters within the similar specifications. Now, what are some of the cons? Well, the first thing, it's very heavy. At over 100 pounds, this is going to be hard to transport in a car, go upstairs, and certainly going to be cumbersome and limiting for some older riders that might want to transport it beyond just rolling it around. The other big thing is that it is not foldable. So unlike an e-scooter where you could fold it and it's much more compact, convenient package. This is definitely going to take a little bit of storage space in your garage or somewhere where you can house it securely. So a little bit of an inconvenience there. Now for public spaces, this will lock up on your standard bike locks that you find out there in the public space. But as far as transporting it and housing it permanently, it's a little bit more of an involved thing. Furthermore, there's no app support and there's no cruise control. So those are some small options that many of the premium e-scooters these days have straight off the bat, which is missing from the DX5. Furthermore, even though for most riders under 6'2", under 100 kilos, this should be a decent fit and a very comfortable riding experience. But for extremely tall riders, this might not be the best solution because of its shorter stature. And certainly for heavier riders, the foot pegs do have some limitations, I think, from a load capacity standpoint. And it's just not 100% adaptable compared to most stand-up scooters and even e-bikes. But really on that, guys, that's really it. I've had a lot of fun testing out the DX5. I want to give a huge shout out to iScooter for giving us this amazing opportunity to test this thing out. And I really do think it offers plenty of convenience as well as capabilities compared to a traditional stand-up scooter from a cargo standpoint. And I think the capabilities both on, off-road, as well as the speed and the overall package is a definitely viable e-mobility solution. Great for people that want to go long distances in comfort and convenience. And I would love to know what you guys think of the DX5's design. Would you actually consider getting one? And if you guys are interested in finding more about the DX5, we'll have everything in the description down below, as well as a potential discount. I want to thank you guys so much for watching again, and we'll see you real soon in the next one. Take care.